Welcome to RDH Coast to Coast Break Time Power Chats for the Dental Hygienist. This podcast engages your professional growth one break at a time. Get ready for engaging discussions, valuable insights, and practical tips to boost your dental hygiene career, all packed into your well-deserved break. Tina will teach from the heart while Kim will help you bloom where you're planted. So grab your headphones, take a deep breath, and let's embark on this exciting journey together. It's time to power up your break time and elevate your dental hygiene career. Let's dive in. All right, Kim, here we are. We're back for our second episode. Now, we were just before we started recording everything, we were talking about the importance of working as a team, as we're working as a team, right? Trying to put this together, and how teamwork can be so helpful, and team activities can be helpful in the office. So, Kim, in all your years of working, any of the offices that you've worked at, did they have any kind of team activities or anything like that you guys did?
We did. I would say I have one office that particularly sticks out for me. And when I tell you that this office, we just worked like a well-oiled machine. Everything was done. Everyone pitched in. Everyone cleaned each other's rooms. Everybody knew what you needed before you had to ask for it. It was just enjoyable. It was nobody, was upset that so and so wasn't doing this or that. It was a place where I felt like we had a strong foundation, a strong friendship as well, and it really made a difference in how you feel when you're at work each day.
So how did you guys build that relationship?
I would say the relationship was built, it was a DSO organization, and the hiring manager, I think, just knew how to put together teams. She's very good at that. And she knew who to pick to be in this office. And it was great. I mean, it was really great. And I don't think I'm ever going to experience what I experienced at my time that when I worked with this wonderful group of women. And we did do things outside of work together. And we did have even, a group chat where we would check in with each other and talk outside of work. And it felt like every day you were going to work and you were working with your friends. And if you're having a bad day or you were going through something really hard, your teammates are going to pick up the slack for you, no questions asked, or not making you feel bad about having to ask for help. It was done. If you wanted to have a snack in the back and I'm cleaning my room, I'm going to clean your room for you too, because I know that you're
Yeah.
going to have my back in the next hour.
So you guys really had the same mindset. So
We
the hiring manager, she probably was looking, right? She probably did some personality profiling or something like that to,
Absolutely. I will say I have never been through a dental interview that asked so many different questions about how do you deal with confrontation? How do you deal with working as a team? What would you do in this type of situation or that type of situation? But it paid off, and it was great.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And the one of the things that really stuck out to me in my career time is actually like a few months ago, I had an opportunity to go into a dental office and do some coaching and calibration with them for their head and neck exam. Like they wanted to all be on the same page on doing their head and neck exam and making sure that they are talking to the patient the same, doing the exam the same, documenting the same, just the whole thing. So I was able to coach them through that. And it was the clinical staff. It was the hygienist and the dentist. There was about six of them all working together,
Mhm.
practicing on each other, doing all this stuff. And there was this camaraderie. They were laughing with each other, and they had these little inside jokes, and it was literally a everybody's on the equal playing field kind of a
Yeah.
situation. And when I asked the hygienist, I was like, wow, like I have to say, it's not very often that I get to see that level of just mutual respect. And yes, everybody has their role, but nobody is more than or less than the other person. And she said that they do this kind of stuff on a regular basis where they will come together, learn together, and ask each other questions. Like nobody, the dentist is not afraid to ask the hygienist, tell me what you know about this and how can I learn from you? And same thing, how the hygienist, how can I learn from you, doc, or from you, assistant?
Right.
And it was really, really interesting to be able to see that. And I was like, I wonder like what if there's other offices that do that kind of stuff.
I know. And I think you said something so important in there is equal playing field, right? It is. The office, I am not better than any other person in that office. And that stood out in the office that I worked in because the other thing that I loved about it is it was more of an open concept office. So
Yeah.
there wasn't separate rooms. I shared, pretty much back to back a room with another hygienist. There was another hygienist right outside, and then like the doctor's operatories were all open. So I knew that, oh, hey, so and so who was the assistant is now in this room, and that room hasn't been cleaned yet. I'm cleaning my room. I'm going to clean yours,
Yeah.
and we're all going to move ahead together because I know that if I need a perio charting on my next patient and you don't have somebody, you're right there for me picking up the slack. And it really makes such a difference. And if instruments need to be done and an assistant says, Kim, do you mind hopping in there? It's getting kind of backed up and I didn't see it. I'm not going to take offense to that. I'm not going to say, well, that's not my job. Of course I'm going to go in there. I'm using those instruments too. So
Right.
it makes less of a chance for office drama. And don't get me wrong, every office, no matter how well you work together, there's always going to be conflicts that come up when you're in a small environment and you're all working so closely together day in and day out. But how do you resolve that? And how do you move forward? And what role do you want to play in those types of situations?
You're right. And I think, one of the things you pointed on with that particular office that you worked with is that you guys did stuff together
Mhm.
outside of the dental aspect,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? Like you had your group chats outside of the dental aspect. You had, you would maybe go happy hour or something like that outside of
Right.
the office. And you were able to build that relationship and trust. And I think that is something that as as professionals, whether or not you're the hygienist, if you're an office manager, if you're assistant, if you're a practice owner, the HR person is looking to see what activities you can encourage in your office to be able to create a more cohesive team. Like the office that I work at, we have a puzzle. Like ever, basically, once COVID happened, it was like
Yeah,
we all scattered, but in the break room, we would have a puzzle.
that's a great
And if,
idea.
one person could go on or two people like, at a time, they were, especially when we were really trying to social distance, it was like, what can we do where we're still working together? And there was a puzzle there. And so every once in a while, somebody would find a piece, put it together. And then it just turned into this really awesome lunchtime activity where we're sitting there eating our lunch, putting the puzzle pieces together, and you just organically just start talking about other aspects of life, or you're cheering somebody on because they found that piece, right?
Right, exactly. And I think that's so important too, because it doesn't have to be outside of work. Everybody has life outside of work, whether it's family or anything that, we had a great doctor too. Hey, I'm going to buy everybody lunch today. Or let's order crumble cookie to be delivered. And let's, do a cookie experiment about see how many places we can have cookies delivered. What is going to bring just small things like that that can bring a team together.
Yeah, and I have to say, the very first doctor that I worked with, and I was so sad when he decided to retire. I was like, no. But it was clockwork. Like once or twice a month, he would just show up with donuts, and he learned what everybody's favorite donuts were, and he made sure to have
Oh,
each of, like, he didn't ask. It was just kind of like this organic kind of a thing. Like he would listen, and we're like, oh my gosh, that's one of my favorites, and you just hear the conversations. And so all of a sudden he would bring those in, and then he would be like, maybe there was a new donut that came through, and he would add that into the mix. And it just turned into a fun thing. And then the next time you knew it, you're like somebody was like, hey, I'm making a coffee run. Can I get somebody coffee? Just those
mhm.
kinds of little things where we, serve each other.
Exactly. And I think that's huge. And again, in that office, the doctor would say, I'm running a Dunkin's. Everybody write down what you want. There's nothing worse than you are in such need of a coffee and you see, half the team got Starbucks or Dunks and you didn't. And it's like, oh, I really could have used one today,
Yes.
you know, those little things.
And I just love it because, that is talk about coast to coast. Like Dunkin' Donuts, right? That's big on the East Coast for coffee, right?
Yes.
Yeah. West Coast, not so much.
Yeah, isn't that funny? I mean, I'm not a Dunkin' Donuts fan, especially their donuts. I mean, donuts are my love language, so I will travel around and try every donut possible. But if I need a coffee, I'll take a coffee from anywhere.
That's so funny. Yeah, because Dunkin' Donuts on the West Coast is kind of like, what? Why
Yeah,
would you do that? And so, we're like Starbucks, Dutch Bros. I don't know if
oh
there's
yeah, so
Dutch
you don't
Bros.
have that. No.
Oh gosh. Oh yeah, Dutch Bros. And then, there's another one called Human Bean, which I love to go to. And I remember somebody was like, Human Bean? Like
I
who
know. Very interesting name.
Very interesting name. So, anyways, I digress. But it is. I just thought it was kind of funny. Like, oh, talk about coast to coast. Here we are. Like,
Right?
coffee is so regional. Um, but it is important to have that. And I'm actually almost done with it, reading this really great book by Lisa Copeland, who is a dental hygienist, and she is a master at communication and being a communicator. And she has a book called Iron Out Communications, all about teamwork and team building. And there's some really great, interesting insights that she put in there too, which I'm like, that's kind of cool. And some of it is like gratitude, like being thankful and telling somebody, hey, thank you for coming and charting for me today, or cleaning up my room, or hey, doc, thanks for coming in and doing that exam.
Yes. Yes. It goes
Mm-hmm.
a long way because people are more apt to model the behavior that they see. And if you're going to show that gratitude and show that appreciation for your team, you're more apt to get it in return.
It will. I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
Well,
and I think something to before we finish to keep in
yeah.
mind is if you're in an office and you do feel like it's just kind of bringing you down and you're engaging in that, gossip and drama, that you don't have to stay. If it's not feeling right to you, then you don't have to be there. You can search for the right office and that right fit for the team that you're looking for.
It really, and and to piggyback on that too, Kim, is that, if you decide that you want to make a transition, whether you're transitioning from school, be paying to do the job to getting paid to do the job, right? Or you're transitioning from one clinical setting to another, or whatever, is, don't be afraid to ask the question, like, what types of activities do you do to ensure a cohesive team? What kinds of things do you do for teamwork? What kinds of what are you looking for of a personality to add to your team, or just those types of things, so that way
Right.
right?
Right. And get in there and observe or do a working interview so you can really see the inner being of the office, so to say, and how they communicate and work and function as a whole.
Yeah. And you know what, Kim, with that, I think you've come up with our third episode, the working interview. What should we look for in the working
Absolutely.
interview, right?
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
that should be it.
Awesome.
Cool. Kim, thank you so much. I like being your teammate.
This has been great. I can't wait for our next one.
All right. Bye, gang.
Have a good one. Thank you for joining us on this power-packed episode of our podcast, where Tina and Kim dove into yet another current topic shaping the dental hygiene world. We really hope this chat has given you some valuable insight and sparked some awesome ideas. Before we wrap up, we want to take a moment to express our gratitude to our amazing sponsors. Without your support, we would not be able to bring these meaningful discussions to our listeners. We appreciate your commitment to the dental hygiene community and the important work you do. We would also like to extend a big thank you to our listeners. Your continued support, engagement, and feedback fuel our passion for delivering you what matters. Remember, we are here for you. Please keep sharing your feedback, suggestions, and topics you'd like us to explore in future episodes, and have an awesome day.